My ex-husband assured our son a car for his birthday but backed out at the last moment, citing unforeseen costs, only for us to discover he used the funds for his stepdaughter's lavish trip. Let me provide some context, as this issue has been simmering for months. It all began in January when my ex, Tom, told our 16-year-old son, Jake, that he'd get him a car for his April birthday. Jake was thrilled, constantly talking about it, researching models, and asking if I thought his dad was truly committed. I reassured Jake that Tom wouldn't make such a promise lightly, and at the time I believed it. Despite our divorce, Tom had always kept his word to Jake, at least until he married Lisa 2 years ago and took on her 14-year-old daughter, Emma, as a stepchild. Tom and I split 4 years ago after 12 years of marriage. It wasn't a bitter divorce. We simply drifted apart and wanted different paths, but we vowed to co-parent Jake harmoniously. Generally, it worked well, with Jake spending weekends and holidays with Tom and staying with me during the week. Tom earns a solid income and is typically financially prudent, so when he promised the car, I assumed he had the money saved or a clear plan, as that's how he usually operates. Jake started his junior year in September and got a part-time job at a local store in October, saving for gas, insurance, and other car-related costs. He was ecstatic about turning 16 and gaining some freedom. His friends all have cars or access to family vehicles, and Jake often felt left out since my old sedan is cramped and Tom's flashy 2-seater, bought post-divorce, isn't practical for giving Jake rides. The car became a huge deal for Jake, who talked about it daily. He scoured online listings, created charts comparing models' safety and efficiency, and I was impressed by his diligence. During weekend visits with Tom, they'd visit dealerships, exploring and test-driving cars. Jake would return home buzzing about a Nissan Altima or a Mazda 3 they'd seen. In February, Tom told Jake he was leaning toward a Toyota Camry for its reliability and value. Jake was overjoyed, diving into research on Camrys, watching maintenance videos, and reading forums on buying used cars. I found it heartwarming how invested he was and how much he trusted Tom to deliver. Then, in March, things got strange. Tom started mentioning how car prices were steeper than expected and how insurance for young drivers was costly. Jake grew anxious that the car might not happen. I calmed him, saying Tom wouldn't have promised something so big without a plan, and Tom assured me over the phone that the car was still happening, just needed the right deal. Jake's birthday, April 15th, approached, and 2 weeks prior, Tom called, sounding strained. He explained that unexpected expenses meant he couldn't buy the car yet, but maybe in a few months. I was furious, knowing Jake would be crushed. I pressed Tom on these unexpected expenses, as it seemed sudden. He got defensive, mentioning costly home repairs and helping Lisa with some financial troubles. This didn't add up, as Tom is meticulous with budgeting. Jake's birthday passed with Tom taking him to dinner and gifting a nice watch, but no car. Jake hid his disappointment, but I saw it in his quiet demeanor and untouched birthday dessert. Tom insisted the car was delayed, not canceled, urging Jake to be patient. Jake kept asking me if Tom had updates, and each no hurt him more. It broke my heart seeing Jake, who'd been so responsible saving and researching, lose faith in his dad's promises. Then last month, Lisa posted photos on social media of Emma's spring break trip to a luxurious Florida resort with 3 friends filled with pricey activities. My stomach churned, as the timing was too coincidental. I estimated the trip's cost matched a decent used car. I didn't tell Jake, not wanting to accuse without proof, but I started monitoring Tom and Lisa's social media, noticing posts about fancy dinners, shopping sprees, a new tablet for Emma, and home renovations. My anger grew as Jake kept asking about the car, and Tom kept stalling. 2 weeks ago, Jake's friend Max, whose dad works with Tom, mentioned that Tom had bragged at work about splurging on Emma's trip to make unforgettable memories. Jake came home and asked if I thought Tom used his car money for Emma's vacation. I saw his pain and admitted the timing seemed suspicious, suggesting he ask Tom directly. Jake confessed he'd suspected it but didn't want to believe Tom would lie. We discussed trust, disappointment, and how adults can make hurtful choices. Last weekend, when Tom came to pick Jake up, Jake confronted him about the trip, asking if that's where his car money went. Tom got flustered, claiming Emma needed the trip to adjust to their blended family, and accused Jake of being selfish for resenting her experience. Jake countered that Tom lied about expenses and broke a promise, feeling betrayed. Tom said family dynamics are complex and priorities shift. Jake argued he didn't choose a blended family and deserved honesty. The fight escalated, with Tom calling Jake immature and Jake calling Tom a liar and bad dad. Jake refused to go with Tom, storming back inside and slamming his door. Tom left after sitting in his car for 10 minutes. Jake has ignored Tom's calls and texts for a week, while Tom calls me daily, asking me to convince Jake to forgive him, claiming their estrangement over money is unhealthy. Yesterday, Tom showed up unannounced while Jake was at work, demanding we discuss the issue. He accused me of turning Jake against his new family, saying I was poisoning Jake's mind out of divorce bitterness. I said Jake forms his own opinions, and I'd stayed neutral until he asked directly. Tom got loud, accusing me of relishing his strained relationship with Jake. I snapped, saying he caused this by breaking promises and favoring Emma. Tom insisted both kids matter, but Emma needed extra support due to emotional struggles. I asked if he considered Jake's feelings, noting Jake hides his pain. Tom claimed Jake, as a boy, is resilient, unlike Emma, a fragile girl, which infuriated me as Jake internalizes his struggles, and Tom should know that. I told Tom he chose to spend Jake's car money on Emma's trip and must face the consequences, not expect me to fix his relationship. Tom accused me of being vindictive, saying I was failing Jake by not promoting forgiveness. We argued heatedly until I told him to leave. Later, Tom texted saying Jake feels abandoned and I'm hurting him by not fostering reconciliation, as grudges are toxic and family trumps possessions. I showed Jake the text. He said Tom misses the point. It's about lies and broken trust, not the car. Jake noted Tom's pattern since marrying Lisa, always siding with her and Emma, making Jake feel less important. He's not ready to pretend everything's fine. I'm proud of Jake's thoughtfulness, but worried about the long-term impact of this rift. Part of me wonders if I should urge Jake to hear Tom out, as they once had a strong bond. But I also believe Tom should face the fallout of his choices, and protecting Jake from more broken promises matters more than family peace. Tom called tonight saying he and Lisa think I'm unreasonable, and Jake's being swayed by my anger. He suggested a family meeting, but only if I stop poisoning Jake. I said Jake decides for himself, and Tom should focus on why Jake feels betrayed. Tom insisted we're adults who should work together for Jake, and my refusal is selfish. I countered that trust must be earned, and Jake deserves an apology, not pressure to move on. Tom said he'll keep reaching out to Jake and hopes I'll see I'm hurting him by encouraging this rift. After the call, I checked on Jake, who was doing homework. He asked if it was Tom calling, nodded at my yes, and returned to his work, unsurprised. Jake seems to be coping well, but I know he's hurt. He's working extra hours to save for a car, determined to rely on himself. I admire his independence, but worry he's building walls to avoid future letdowns, which could affect his trust in relationships. Update 1. Things got more complicated today, and I'm reeling from what I learned. Jake came home from school, where he and Emma attend different grades, and said Emma approached him at lunch, upset about the car situation. She said she didn't know about Tom's promise and wouldn't have wanted the trip if she'd known it meant taking Jake's car funds. Emma felt awful and has been urging Tom and Lisa to get Jake's car, even offering to work and contribute. Jake told her it wasn't her fault and she shouldn't feel responsible for her parents' choices. This made Jake question how the trip was planned and whether Tom was fully honest. Jake asked Max to get more details from his dad, who works with Tom. Max's dad said Tom complained at work about teenage girls' expenses and how Lisa pressured him to fund Emma's trip so she wouldn't feel left out. Tom reportedly felt guilty, as Lisa said he favored Jake and needed to prove he valued Emma equally. Hearing this, my anger at Tom intensified. It seems he let Lisa manipulate him into breaking his promise to Jake to avoid conflict with her, which is worse than unexpected expenses. Jake wants to confront Tom about whether Lisa pushed for the trip and if Tom was too weak to stand up for Jake. I warned Jake that Tom might deny it, but he has every right to demand the truth. Jake called Tom tonight, arranging dinner tomorrow to discuss the car. Tom was thrilled, texting me thanks for facilitating, unaware I had no role and that Jake plans a confrontation. I'm anxious about this dinner, as Jake seeks truth while Tom likely expects forgiveness. I'll update after, as this feels like it's about to get messier. Update 2. I'm still processing last night's dinner, and Tom's admissions were worse than I imagined. Jake came home at 9:30, calm but reflective. He shared everything, and I'm stunned Tom thought his excuses would help. Jake opened by mentioning his talk with Emma and demanding honesty about the car money and why priorities shifted. Tom got defensive, saying Jake was too young to grasp adult financial decisions. Jake pressed, asking if Lisa pushed for Emma's trip and whether Tom disclosed the car promise beforehand. Tom dodged, talking about blended family dynamics, but Jake insisted on answers. Tom admitted Lisa was upset about Emma missing the trip, arguing he spent heavily on Jake and it wasn't fair to shortchange Emma. Tom didn't tell Lisa about the car, thinking he could afford both, but the trip's deadline forced a choice, and the car could wait. Jake said this proved Tom prioritized Lisa's feelings over his trust, lying about expenses to hide it. Tom claimed Jake's bond with him was secure, but Emma's needed nurturing to feel included. He thought Jake would forgive him, but Emma might not recover from feeling less valued. Jake said this worsened things, as Tom assumed Jake's forgiveness while prioritizing Lisa and Emma to avoid conflict. Tom called Jake selfish, saying a car is just a thing, and Jake should be glad Emma had a good experience. Jake exploded, saying it's about lies and broken trust, not money, and Tom showed Emma was his priority. Jake said Tom's actions revealed his true loyalties, and he's done expecting honesty. Tom begged Jake not to give up, promising the car soon, but Jake said it's not about the car anymore. Tom missed his chance to be truthful. Jake came home relieved to know the truth, though hurt by Tom's admission of choosing Lisa over him. He feels clearer about where he stands and can now make informed choices about their relationship. I'm proud of Jake's maturity and demanding honesty. Tom's been calling and texting, pleading for me to help salvage their bond, saying he'll do anything to regain Jake's trust. But after learning Tom knowingly broke his promise to please Lisa, I'm even less inclined to help. Tom made his choice, and Jake gets to decide if Tom's apologies are worth trusting again. Am I wrong for not helping Tom rebuild his relationship with Jake after he broke his promise and lied about why?